Right, so just to recap this before we do the class, yeah? So just want to make sure you understand a little bit, like a little bit of a summary, I guess, of what we've done this week. So some of you, especially if you're not so familiar with the systems, don't know where everything kind of sits. So I just want to explain that a little bit to you. So first of all, general principles. Really what I was focused on. Okay, before I do this, one of the other things I was focused on this week is getting to know, sounds a little bit creepy, but getting to know your bodies, if you know what I mean, is getting to know a little bit about how you move, what you've done before, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, things like that as well. And I can't really know that till I see you move, right? I see you do something. So there's been a fair bit of repetition this week as well, especially for the people who I know I'm going to have for a little while, as I need to get to know what people are doing so I can see. So I'm checking for different things. I'm checking on how your body moves and how it delivers power. Do you know where the center of your power is? Can you conduct it to the right point? What's pulling against what? How's your coordination? Is your mind in the body fully? Those kind of things. And I've just kind of made a mental, I haven't kept the file. That's a bit weird, don't worry. I've just made a mental note for the people that I'm teaching as to where you are, so that I know I can start to fashion your practice afterwards, and I know what weaknesses to work upon. So that's why, especially this week, I did hardly any sort of hands-on corrections. I didn't bother coming to you very much. I just stood here and watched and let you do it, because I need to get to know what it is you're doing. And I think now, for the vast majority of you, I have a fairly good idea of what you're good at, what you're not so good at, where you're strong, where you're weak, and what we need to work on. So from here, I can start to sort of correct you individually and take you in that direction. And it's almost impossible to teach until you've seen people do those things to see where you are. So I have a mental image of your skill sets. So general principles. Number one, I wanted you to understand this week, this general principle of stretching and connecting, yeah? So I won't go into detail in them because I already explained them to you. But this idea that any movement you do must have the mind in your body, must be all the way through. Realistically, to get the mind into the body seems to take people about 2 to 3 years minimum from what I've seen when they start training in this particular way. Normally what happens is people will have their mind in bits of their body. Generally, it will be in large joints, or if they got injuries, it'll be there, won't it? Because that's what everybody focuses on. And the more you focus on an injury, you can't feel the rest of your body. And it's like if you've got a bad hip, the rest of your body almost becomes irrelevant. So people have sort of patches of where their mind goes to. Or the other thing that often happens, if I tell you, please don't take this as like horribly personal criticisms, because what happens is if I say, this is the weakness you tend to have, what people hear is, you're a bad person and I hate you. It's like a weird self-esteem translation that they do, but this is not a comment on who you are as people. It's not. Everybody I've spoke to, you seem really nice. You're definitely more pleasant than me, so you're doing all right. But I would say with regards to what a lot of you are doing, when you put your mind in, you're not fully in the body. Even the ones who've done a fair bit of internal training, you tend to be in regions. So you might be in the Dantian because you've done a lot of that kind of training, of course, which will lead a tendency towards that. Or some of you might be more centralized in the body, or some of you are in the chest, or some of you are in the solar plexus, but you're not completely in the body. So that's quite a major mission for people to achieve. Meditators are especially bad at it, in my experience, but they're very, very good at putting their mind to a point. So we need to have the ability to put the mind to a point and into the entire body, but you must have a choice between the two. Yeah, so we need better control of the mind. So with regards to the stretching while listening through the body, you want to do tons and tons and tons of it, days off, evenings off, whatever you need to do. Just keep mobilizing the body while putting your mind through your system. When I chat to other people who I consider, to be very, very good at the internal arts, things like Tai Chi or something like that, friends of mine and teachers I've had and stuff like that, they would agree that people really suck at putting their mind into their body. They struggle. And it's funny because it's kind of the buzzword, isn't it? The mind-body connection that we don't have, essentially, is what we should be talking about in the internal arts. So it takes a while, right? And the funny thing is with mind is, this is definitely divorced a little bit from anything traditional, I suppose, but I kind of view that the sort of mind's fluid, if you want, as having a few different sort of layers to it. You get a kind of thin don't know what you would call it, airy-fairy stratification of mind that can kind of get into the nerves across the body easily enough. But then there's, and this will sound odd, like a thicker fluid of mind. It's strange. It's like there's a denser, like mind definitely has a shape. It has a form. And there is a denser substance or energy to mind that cannot get into the body very easily. It kind of struggles. So it can kind of ease its way into some of the nerves, but it needs to get into spaces in the body. Now, I'm aware already that sounds a bit odd, but use it as a conceptual framework for the time being. And you'll see as time goes on, it's more literal than you might think, actually, especially with the internal arts. So I need to pull your body. Oh, yeah, my body's open. It's all right. You need to pull your body open, right, to get that thicker fluid into the spaces, right? So joints first, big areas, needs to go into there. And then gradually, when I pull the fibers of the tissues, it needs to go into all the spaces in there, right down to the bone. And that's going to take you some time. Okay, that's going to take you some time for that to happen. You'll get it into bits. You'll probably get it into your torso before you get it into your arms and legs. Realistically, it tends to go into this space before these spaces. Arms and legs tend to be tricky for some reason. So in order to get that, you need to do lots of that kind of slow stretching with the mind in the body, not static stretching. I'm anti it. A couple of people were asking. So like the kind of yin yoga, not slagging yin yoga, but that principle they have where they just kind of stay and they hold a stretch for a really long time and they breathe and they just stay in that position. It's not good for internal martial artists because although it might be good for what they want, which is to open up body and open up their channels, their nadis or whatever, their practice, fine. What it doesn't do is contribute to elasticity. So what happens is it creates flexibility with a little bit of flaccidity through the body. So I'm not generally a fan of that. And I don't think in Chinese arts they normally were either, because if you look at what the static postures are, they don't tend to be stretched. Yeah, but when they mobilize, they stretch the body. So I prefer those moving exercises with the mind inside the body to work that sort of mental fluid into the spaces personally. Yeah. That's why even when I do something like a hip stretch, I'm still rolling something, aren't I? Still moving a heel, still moving a hip, still moving a spine a little bit because I want the body to stay mobile because I'm trying to knit it together. I don't want that flaccid flexibility or sort of unelastic, yeah? So principle stretching, connecting, work on that. And then anchor in the breath, obviously the go-to for your breathing. If you're, remember, with anchor in the breath, you should be doing lots of that too. And these two are great because you can do them when you're tired, right? You don't have to have energy particularly to do these. Well, you have to have enough to be awake. But other than that, you know, you can do these anytime. If your breathing is different at the start of anchor in the breath and the end of anchor in the breath, that exercise where you observe through, then your breathing is not yet correct. That's basically what it comes down to. So if there's any change on your breathing is not yet right, meaning you are not correctly abdominal breathing. Okay, because anchor in the breath, where we follow those phases, regions down through the body, is what leads to abdominal breathing. It's not something you forced. We don't expand the abdomen, we don't expand the ribs, we don't expand the kidneys, we don't force anything, because none of that is adequate to lead to a proper quality that's ingrained into your body. All it is doing is training another contrived technique. And the problem with contrived techniques is while they sometimes lead to one skill arising, they often detract from another skill because many of the skills relies on getting rid of contrivance so that something can naturally unfold. Do you understand that, right? So if I build something through trying, then you'll often reduce your ability somewhere else. Yeah, so we pay attention to the body on those regions until we allow that abdominal breathing quality to arise. We want the breath to be in that state because once you start going on to deeper training, you need to be able to switch to different breathing techniques, but they're all based upon effective abdominal breathing. So often when I teach in short-term things, I'll get people to reverse abdominal breathe or Dantian breathe or those different things, but I know that it's less efficient for those people than the ones who already have abdominal breathing, right? It increases the efficiency of all the other techniques. So you want to be right from the beginning, building a foundation in this. Go find somewhere quiet, Bali. Not sure where you're going to find one of those, but try to find somewhere halfway peaceful to just sit on some of your time off. Just close your eyes and just work through that breathing if you can to get the abdominal breathing based into your body. It's going to take a while, yeah? So this is relevant to Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts, doesn't matter. It's okay, it's the same for all of them. Those are qualities we need, just efficiency of body's functioning. Which one first? Okay, Tai Chi, let's do this one. So we also looked at, just so you know what they are, Songgong 1, which is this swing, right? Which remember is about, first of all, unwinding the joints. That's true. But a lot of the swings in Tai Chi get turned into just kind of loosening things, which is sensible for people with stiff joints or something like that. But actually, the main thing they're about is at the beginning is using that kind of swinging force to open up the joints a little bit so that then we can drop the power to the ground and bring that Jin up and down through the body. That's what they're for, yeah? They're mobilizing the force up and down. It's something we'll get into later in more detail, but some of you are already familiar with the term. Oh, we do have a strobe light. You're right. So it also leads to the ability to understand how not to double weight. That comes from the 5 relaxation exercises, the 5 of these swings, the Wushan Shenfa, how not to double weight, which is a very important principle in Tai Chi. Essentially double, I won't get into it now. All right. There's a principle in Tai Chi called double weighting, which doesn't mean anything to do with your body weight. Actually, it's nothing to do with your body weight or your mass. It's one of those really badly named principles, of which there's many in martial arts, in my opinion. But essentially, if your body is double weighting, it is not Tai Chi. If it is, it is double weighting, it is not Tai Chi. If it's not double weighting, then it can adhere to Tai Chi's principles. And to not double weight is one of the most difficult things to do in Tai Chi. It's very hard to not double weight. And in order to get this, we have to be able to mobilize that force up and down through the body. If that force doesn't mobilize, like the Jin from the foot up through the system and then back down to the other foot, you are double weighting. That's the rule. It doesn't matter what you do with your posture. It doesn't make any difference what your form is like. It doesn't make any difference what you've learned to do technique-wise. It is double weighting, meaning that there are not 2 forces that are harmonized with one another. Yeah. That's enough for now. We'll get to double weighting in more detail later. The important thing to understand is if you can't mobilize the Jin, you are double weighting. Yeah. Next one was the terribly named Baduan Jin. Baduan Jin is an elderly exercise for elderly people taught by elderly teachers to help you with elderly illnesses. Essentially, it's a good exercise for the joints and things like that. But for some reason in Tai Chi, there's a completely different set of exercises with the same name. Who knows? Go figure. I think often in Chinese arts, maybe within systems, there was like a, do you know what I mean? Like a historical name of something or a mythological name of something. And I think later exercises adopt those names and things like that. So I think it's probably to do with that, because the Tai Chi Baduan Jin is this one, yeah, bang and bang, when that's part 1 of the exercise. So part of the reason I did that with you was to also to kind of see where your body was, but also especially for Tai Chi practice, it's quite a good one to start working on. That sequence gets kind of odd as it goes on. It gets a little bizarre. Starts very straightforward with the arms, but starts to do some weird things later on. So this is what the Baduan Jin was. This is to open the body up, yeah, in a slightly more assertive fashion than the swings. So we have opening in a passive way, if you like, and opening in a more assertive fashion with the Baduan Jin to open you up, because almost all of you need your shoulders and chest and ribs more open. Shoulders and chest and ribs need to open. Yeah. For those of you who have the shoulders open, which some of you do actually, which is cool because that's quite an unusual thing to get the shoulders open. I don't think hardly any of you've got the ribs open. And again, not a criticism, just a criticism, a critique. A critique. Is that different? Assistance. Yeah, you know what I mean? I have to tell you what you need to work on, right? You need to get your ribs open because the ribs aren't mobilizing. So therefore, they can't expand and the force can't get through the chest. Yeah, and Baduan, these are quite good for that. Yeah. And then Sumen, not Seaman, as somebody pointed out. We're not that kind of school, I'm afraid. That's pretty much every other school in Ubud from what I can make out. This is the 4 gates, essentially, which is just that practice. We started backs and forwards, moving between these little sequences, Peng Nu Jian. These 4 moves that we were doing yesterday afternoon. No, yes? Yes, that is correct. Yesterday afternoon, okay. So those 4 are where I would start with Tai Chi. So essentially, I would go movement-wise from releasing and trying to touch the floor in the Songgong to opening the body up into the 4 gates practice. So that's almost like a little practice session of Tai Chi in itself, right? To get into there. That's starting to move you from the principles that are going towards the form. Now, you'll notice if you've done Tai Chi before that's based on a lot of static work and standing, I don't do that from the beginning. Because as I said, I want to mobilize the force first. And to me, the standing practices like Jamjong and things like that, what they do is they put a characteristic on that force. But until that force is there, there's nothing to characterize. So it seems a bit pointless. So therefore, I want to mobilize that power first. It was the biggest faux pas I ever caused in the Qigong world. And it was also the time that I started to never be hosted by, I can't be hosted. It's not possible. People message, can I host you to teach a workshop? The answer is no, because the worst one I ever did was I was hosted to go teach at a school somewhere. And they asked my advice at the end of the workshop. And I said, please never do Jamjong. Like, stop, it's bad for you. And then it turns out they were a Jamjong school. Like, that's it. That's the basis of what they did. And they were also the biggest one in their country. And it caused a shitstorm. But in my opinion, they had wasted their time, because the Jamjong they had done was like, Jamjong with what? Like, what force are you mobilizing? Nothing. So yeah, we don't do that yet. Next, these ones. So the martial arts, right? The martial arts. At the beginning, it's you don't have much to do in martial arts, fair enough. And I think you understand that my take on martial arts is that there is a large stylized, well, in Eastern martial arts, there's a large stylized version of martial arts, isn't there? And then there is an actual sort of functional, practical version of martial arts, and they're not the same. They're not the same at all. Essentially, practical, functional martial arts look very similar, no matter what part of the world they come from, generally, because there's so many ways to use the body, and most points on the planet, most regions of the planet kind of figured out the most efficient way to get power out of their body. So they do look quite similar at a certain level. So it's quite funny when you see the argument of people say when they fight, you know, someone trains martial arts and they fight, it just looks like kickboxing. And it's like, well, it's kind of true, because actually once something becomes functional, it does start to look that way a little bit. There might be something else laid upon it. The sort of trapping techniques for Chinese martial arts are a little different and things like that, but still there is a certain consistency or constancy, sorry, to martial arts training globally. What is different for Eastern martial arts, in my opinion, is the stage before that, which is the kind of stylized, larger, almost ritualized practice that comes before that, which is what you're doing with me, right? And what I'm doing with that is these kind of techniques, because these are what are changing your body. So there's a difference between somebody that has an untransformed body doing a hook punch, and then somebody who has a transformed body doing a hook punch. You will know the difference when hit with the hook punch, right? The transformed body feels very different from that person that hasn't got a transformed body. So systems will need ways to do it. And some systems are based on weightlifting and getting bigger. Some systems are based on increasing your cardio. Some systems are based on increasing the efficiency of the techniques and getting very technical. Chinese martial arts are very much based on efficiency of the body plus elastication of the structure. But I think you understand that now, right? So that I build it into all of the stretches and the connections across my body, so that then when I shrink my body, those shapes are still there. They're still present inside my body. So these ones, like Mabu, horse stance stepping, right? Which is, I think, where every martial artist should start. I think regardless of your style. Really, I don't think it makes a difference. I can't think of many styles that shouldn't start with that, external or internal, in my opinion, although internal martial artists might disagree with me because it's not spiritual enough or something like that. I don't know. But that Mabu shape builds the alignments of your groin, your quad, your hips, your legs, your connection to the floor, and also the power for quite a few of the different kicks as well, to be perfectly honest, into your legs. So if I were to be cruel, which I will be, because sometimes I am. If you can't do the Mabu stepping, or it's not built into your body, I already kind of know your stances are probably wrong in everything else. And I already know your kicking's probably quite inefficient to the side. And I already know that probably the alignment of your hips and your legs aren't quite right. And I also kind of know that the elasticities, they're not under that part. I already kind of know, because if those things were in your body, the Mabu would be good, right? So sometimes you can see people do, I don't know, a really nice kick or a really nice stance or something like that. It looks good. If I then see their Mabu and it's not good, I know there is nothing in that technique. I know that it's not strong, it's not efficient, it's probably pulling against itself. And if you're hit by it, you could probably dust yourself off and carry on, because the mechanics, the power within that shape is built into that arc-like structure. Do you understand that? Yeah, so it should be there. There is a crossover between those mechanics. So the funny thing is, if someone is a good mover and they've really learned how to use their body, I could get them to do Ma Bu and they can do it straight away. Maybe like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? They move around a bit, okay, kind of get comfortable with it, but it should be there. I should see that structure. I should see that elasticity. That shouldn't make a difference with regards to your age either, or how long you've done it. You know, there's that old thing in the martial arts. Wow, you know, 30 years ago, I could stand like this. Now I have to stand like this or something like that. That doesn't apply to Ma Bu. I'm really sorry. If your training is good, it is built into your body. It doesn't make a difference. It is there. It's almost like when someone stretches as a kid and they stretch at 40, they still drop into the split. It's built into them, right? It's still there. It might not be perfect, but you can kind of see that alignment. So Ma Bu should still be present. Yeah. So there will be many more of those. There will be many more Ma Bus, I'm afraid, to build into your body, because I think there's some work to do on the legs. Yeah. Maybe the only thing that would change with age is how long you can hold it, right? Like that, the stamina training, but I don't use Ma Bu for that anyway. Straight punch, same. All martial artists should be able to straight punch. I don't care what you do. Judo, no punches, should still be able to do a straight punch. Okay, Kung Fu, Wing Chun, that uses a different style, you should still be able to straight punch. It doesn't matter. Tai Chi, you should still be able to straight punch, because it's only based on the natural mechanic of driving a straight line from the center of my body out to my hand. That's it. It should be a natural and efficient mechanic. Do you understand that, yeah? So same with the front kick. The front kick is a natural mechanic of walking. This is me walking, and then I just pick up my knees more, and that circle changes into the kick. It should be naturally built into my body. Some of the other techniques that aren't natural for the body, that are a bit more stylistic, maybe shouldn't automatically be natural for all martial artists. For example, a roundhouse kick wouldn't expect that to be natural for all martial artists, because it's not a hugely natural mechanic to turn your hip over and raise the knee that way. It needs training. But if your body is efficient, then a front kick should be normal for all martial artists, because you're literally just following the natural mechanics of your leg. You understand that, yeah? So this is why these techniques are normal for me. Straight line out, spiral back, should be natural for your body. It doesn't matter if you have a really stylistic system that uses other techniques, these are natural body mechanics. With regards to the external training, these are the techniques I will choose. I'm not interested in teaching you an entire Kung Fu system, because why? Doesn't seem to, I don't think it matters. What I'm interested in teaching is teaching the techniques that are good for your body, will condition your body, and also are based on those natural mechanics. So you should be able to do them regardless of the style that you practice, because they're not going against any natural mechanic in your body. If there is a technique that is against natural mechanics, I tend to move away from them anyway. I tend to not be very interested in them, because I already have Tai Chi that's unnatural enough. You know, like that's weird enough already. So I just want the things that are natural for your body. So it's a limited number of techniques that I'm concerned with, yeah? Understand that? This is why I think external training is good, because it shows you where your natural mechanics are inefficient. Yeah, okay. I don't think we did anything else on those. No. So then the other thing as well, there's an aspect to health that I think is really important here, that is beyond fitness or anything like this, you know, because I'm sure there's some of you in here fitter than me, for sure. But it's another side, which is a word that I don't think is used in health enough, which is robustness, which I think is really, really important with regards to your health. How robust are you? And I think this is another side of martial arts that's not looked at enough, right? So if you are robust, then if you break something or you tear something in your body, or something is psychologically difficult in your life, or something goes wrong, or you pick up an illness, you are fine. That is robustness. The ability to go, whatever, fuck it, it's okay. I'll get better or I won't. That's the ability for robustness, to just have the ability to go, yeah, it's fine. And then how quick does your body fix after this as well? Which a lot of that is based, okay, there's a physiological side, but also on your mentality too, isn't it? Like if I damage something and it's not a problem, it's not long after that that it gets better, to be perfectly honest, it repairs. I mean, even to the more extreme level, something is only a problem if it bothers you, right? Like if tomorrow someone cut both your legs off, but you didn't care, it wouldn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, it's only a problem if it bothers you. And I know that's an extreme example, but that kind of applies to everything else in your life as well, right? It might be a problem to other people around you, but you get wheels and you're all right. Yeah. So martial arts should build that kind of quality into your body as well, okay, into your mind, so that robustness is there. It doesn't mean that you ignore injuries or sickness. You must take care of them. So some of you I've advised to strap up knees and put something on, like protect your body a little bit. And some of you I've advised different therapies for you to do in the meantime to fix things. And you must do those things, right? But the mindset with martial arts should be, I have now done what I can do for this problem right now. Therefore, there is no point of it being in the front of my awareness anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I've done everything I can do. Oh, well, I'll just carry on. And that's it. And then when you finish whatever you're doing, then you might double check, okay, there's something else I can do for that injury, but that's it. That, in my opinion, is how a person should approach their life. And certainly somebody training martial arts. So that I'm not ignoring something, I'm not making it worse, but when I've done everything I can, I've done everything I can. And then I get on. Otherwise, you'll end up in a different mindset where I'm there. I might still have that tumor. I might still have that weakness. Is this making me worse? And then it starts to change into other things like, oh, there's that little twinge. Oh, there's that twinge in my neck. Oh, my right knee hurts. Oh, I don't like what that kid said to me when I was 10 years old. Oh, fucking hell, maybe I am a loser. Do you know what I mean? Like, your mindset just goes more and more and more and more and more down this road, right? And that's generally what happens until eventually your health is just destroyed. But your health is being destroyed because you have no robustness, like nothing at all, right? Now, the funny thing is, when I've explained this to people before, sometimes they haven't liked it. And I always think this is a funny contradiction because, especially when I run a school, right? You hear what people think about each other. Okay, you do. Everybody talks about each other, right? And then everyone goes, no, I don't like, that's not a very nice attitude or something like that. And then do you know what? The people that I hear that people are inspired by, well, that person's martial arts are really good. I like that person's training. They're the robust ones. It's like you're actually inspired by and you like the people that have the robust qualities. They're the ones you look to when you're doing something. It's so funny. And yet at the same time, when you say that quality should be there, people are like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. No. That's just sort of, that's toxic. You shouldn't have that opinion or The contradiction is mad. And you will see that go on more and more and more as the martial arts develop, right? So train your robustness. Last thing, when you are training martial arts, it's been interesting watching you. Because not only do I watch your body, I watch your psychology, I watch what's going on with your mind, I watch where your thoughts are, I watch what you're thinking about, I watch how focused you are, all these kinds of things. There are two forms of discipline I want you to develop or aim for, and not for me, but for you. I'm advising this discipline for you. It's not because it makes my life easier, because I don't care. I have my training. Now you need to develop your training. Mine's okay. It has its weaknesses I'm working on, but I'm quite happy with it. Now it's for you. Two types of discipline. One, to keep your mind in what you're doing. That's the first kind, so that you're not daydreaming. Boredom doesn't matter. Okay, that to me, the first thing we should understand is boredom is the most irrelevant human quality. Boredom is the reason why most people fail at everything, right? If you are bored, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If you are someone who is after, and most of you are good at this anyway. It's pretty impressive watching you just get on with something. It's pretty cool, but if you get bored of stuff, that means you're doing stuff for entertainment. That's what it means. If you are doing something for entertainment, you are a child. That's what that means, because children should be entertained. Adults should have purpose and function and direction. And that is the difference between the two. So when I meet a person that's always obsessed with entertainment, this is fun. This is entertaining me. This is what I want. This is what will give me joy. I know that it's impossible for them to do martial arts because their mind is already in the wrong mindset. To be honest, they're better off renting an apartment and get the latest video games and live out the rest of their life that way, to be perfectly honest, because entertainment should be irrelevant to the martial artist. it doesn't matter. It is more stoic than that. Your job is to use the discipline to move towards purpose and function and direction, which will then cause you to elevate to a higher stage. That means you can get past all of those little petty desires within your mind, so that then the spiritual practice unlocks for you. Without discipline, spiritual practice is impossible. Okay? There is a direct clash between the two. If you are undisciplined, you are going to find spiritual practice impossible. They cannot go hand in hand. They cannot. It is impossible. So when I meet people that say, I'm really interested in the spiritual arts, and then I get to know them and they have no discipline, I know there's no point. They need to develop something else first. They need the discipline first. It doesn't matter what age they are, doesn't matter what gender they are, race they are. They need to do the other stuff first. They need to build that discipline, because at some point that spiritual practice is going to become uninteresting. That's the first discipline. So you must overcome boredom. Second discipline, you must overcome how you feel, okay, when you are practicing. Because when you are tired, you will feel bad. That's what's going to happen, right? And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally, psychologically. When you're tired, you'll feel bad. So if you're a grumpy person, when you're tired, you'll be more grumpy. That's me. That's what happens. I'm on that end of the emotional spectrum. You know when I'm tired? Because I just fucking sort yourself out or something like that. But if you are depressed, when you're tired, you'll be more. If you're more of a depressive person, you'll be more depressed. If you are a bit self-loathing or you have a low self-esteem, when you are more tired, you'll have more of that. You will have lower self-esteem and more it just gets exaggerated. Of course it does when you're tired. If you have resentment towards people, that will become stronger when you're tired, right? That's the other side of martial arts, is because when you get tired and those things arise, good. That is a part of your practice. What you don't do is step away from it. That's when you acknowledge it and you notice it. Okay, this is the self-destructive part of my nature that is coming to the fore. And you know what? You don't find those in meditation so easily. You don't find those in Qigong so easily. You don't find those in Neigong so easily. But you do find it when you're physically exhausted. You know, that's when it turns up. Do you understand that, right? So then no matter how you feel, train anyway. It's okay. Because probably the people around you are also having their own negative experiences at that particular moment, and it's all generated by the exhaustion. But the more I do this training and the more I build myself up, of course, my threshold for tiredness goes up, right? Because maybe on day one, fucking 10 minutes, bloody hell, what am I doing here? And then out comes the negative quality, like, oh, Jesus Christ, I should have done Qigong. And then 6 months, or not even that, but 6 weeks later, that threshold is different. 2 years later, that threshold is different. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just different. And then that travels across to the rest of your life as well, so that you will need a lot more on the outside to bring you to that point where that negative quality arises. It will be a lot more difficult. Life will have to chuck a lot at you. Whereas if you get tired very quickly and then you feel bad, then you only have to have what? One sleepless night, a stressful day at work, someone has a go at you, you lose your wallet, something like minor, tiny little things like that will all of a sudden throw you into this pit of despair. But if you've got that robustness, it takes a lot more than that. Yeah, you would need a lot. It was very telling to me to watch how people didn't cope during the 2 years of disruption, 2.5 years. How many people just fell to bits? What they lacked was robustness. Okay. And if they had had training to develop that discipline and that robustness, they would have been fine. It would have been okay psychologically. Whatever happened in their life, practically, financially, doesn't matter, because the robustness is still there. I have air, I have a body, I can breathe, I have food, it's fine. Yeah. Do you understand all that? So this is the point of the practice. Okay? This is what I'm trying to use this training for. I don't like Chinese Kung Fu. I'll be honest. I can't stand it. I find it nerdy. Like Chinese Kung Fu to me is the equivalent of being able to name the timeline for the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe or something like that. I find it really bizarre when people would use their mental capacity for such things. And anyone who's ever talked to me about Kung Fu will know that when they start talking about Tiger Claw and White Crane Wing and Mantis this and Chow Gar that and this foot and that step and that, in my mind I'm going, dork, like I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really nerdy. I don't care. Like I'm sure from a cultural perspective, it's very interesting, but you probably gather by now, I have no culture. That's just who I am. I don't understand opera, any theater. I don't care if jazz, fuck jazz. Put that on the list. I don't understand any of it. I'm not a cultured person at all. So for other people, sure, great. But it personally doesn't interest me. I don't find it very interesting. I think they are an exploration of pointlessness in many cases. What interests me is from that system, the development of efficiency and discipline and stoicness and skill and technique and all of those things that can arise out of it. That's what fascinates me. I don't care if you know 32 different ways to Dimmack a tendon or something. It's not interesting to me, right? So most of the training that I'm working towards is that, to train these qualities through these simple techniques. Do you understand all that? Okay, cool. Hope that didn't come across as criticism. It wasn't. I want you to understand where I'm coming from and what my take on this is, and what the plan is. So I think we'll do some Tai Chi in a minute, but in a nice way. I always have a rule. Last day of the week, a bit more gentle, a bit more nice. No. Last day of the week, it should be nice, right? It's like break you down, build you up, give you some time off. I think that's the best way. No, be nice. I promise. Yeah. So probably the next week, I'll keep adding to these two things. I'm not convinced I'll split the group up too much yet. I know some of you are going to hate it, but I'm going to add a bit more here, and I want to double this list here next week. And then I think on the third week, we'll start dividing you up. I don't think I'm going to do that just yet, because I want everybody to do those techniques. So with regards to the external training, even if you're interested in Tai Chi, I'm just going to do the ones that I think are really good for the alignments and the stretches of the legs, so that when we shift you on to the Tai Chi, those who are very interested in that, then you'll find the Tai Chi easier to do and the shapes easier to do. And then for this month, probably week 3 and 4, I'll split the groups a lot. Yeah.
With the training called repetitive long duration,
Yeah.
Avoid kind of any emotional valence to it at all. Like for example, the Mabu 7 is very, very like fun and enjoyable.
How dare you? Can't enjoy it. Stop it.
Then not to like shoot for more.
No. Actually, it's not quite right. It's what
satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, it generates fun in me, so I hope that's okay. But to me, no, it's not that. I still acknowledge what I'm feeling, but it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So if you enjoy it, it doesn't matter. If you hate it, it doesn't matter. It's the neutrality to whatever arises that's more important. So then I can, like for me, I can acknowledge, oh, I'm enjoying this. My body likes the adrenaline. It likes the discomfort. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the point. It doesn't change my center if I want. It's a funny thing, actually, you're asking there. Like, I think that's a lot of the point, not just of martial arts, but meditation, even at the beginning, is that I think that it creates distance between things. It's the opposite of what people think, because everyone talks about union and everything coming together and everything merging into one. But I think that's after. The first thing is it creates separation from everything. So I can look, oh, there's my emotions. There's my character traits. There's my deepest insecurities. Not sure what that is. Let's not look at that. And there's my center in the middle. And then I have the ability to kind of look at all of those things without being caught up in it. Would be better, yeah? Does that make sense, Roman? Cool. Yeah, but stop enjoying it, Roman. Kind of defies the point of, you can't build discipline like that. Great. Okay, so let's do something then. Clear the floor, because we do a bit of Tai Chi, so we need a bit of space to move around.